step back and understand this is a different world from ours, different culture, different way of thinking. It doesn't mean it's wrong. It also doesn't mean that we're necessarily right, but they're different. And I'm so tired of people in Washington condemning everyone left and right for not adequately tending to whatever we think is appropriate in their country. You know, we used to take the position, Republicans used to take the position, that what countries do, what governments do in their own countries is their affair. And if we didn't like something, we would discuss it, but we would do so privately. That's been thrown overboard since the Second World War as we've run around and proselytized and pushed our ideas. And I ask everyone to look back on the last 50, 60, 70 years and tell me, how well has that worked?
Speaking of consequences, what do you have any thoughts on the recent Senate votes to approve the expansion of NATO to Finland and Sweden? Rand Paul and Josh Hawley were the only two in the Senate that voted against this effort. But what do you think? I'm curious because obviously I'm sure you believe in the idea that we should have, strong military allies. But how do you weigh that with just outright provocation against countries like Russia? I mean, you're more than doubling the amount of land that they share now with a NATO state.
Well, first of all, let's keep something in mind. The Finns are not afraid of a Russian invasion. And they are well organized, well equipped, and quite prepared to deal with it if it should ever happen again. But they've actually done good business with the Russians. In fact, the president of Finland said, "I'm not joining NATO because I fear Russia. I'm joining NATO because you, Mr. Putin, invaded another sovereign country." Okay, I think he's making a mistake, and that's a dumb idea, but that was his position. The Swedes have a long and troubled history with Russia. That goes back to 1709 at Poltava and the defeat of Charles XII, through his own foolishness, by the way, by Peter the Great. So I'm not surprised at the Swedish attitude. But the problem for us is that we really don't have real military allies on the ground in Europe. What we have are dependencies, military colonies. These places all expect us to defend them. That's why everybody wants to join. Join NATO. America will defend you. And then, by the way, it's another source of or opportunity for interaction with the U.S. government. There's money in it, another avenue of approach for us. There are benefits to us from being in this organization. And they're right. I just don't see very many benefits to us. And I think that was Donald Trump's view, that we were spending all this money, but these people were not doing what was required to defend themselves. Europeans have to do that. And this just sort of postpones it. The Swedes are quite happy to become a dependency, and so are the Finns, unfortunately. I think it's a mistake. But that's neither here nor there. Now, Asia is much more serious in my judgment, because the Chinese, who are very serious people, are genuinely offended and at the same time threatened by our behavior vis-a-vis Taiwan. The Russians are not afraid of us. They know us, unfortunately, for what we are. I think Putin has a healthy respect for us if we know what we're doing, but he knows we don't know what we're doing. The Chinese, they don't understand that. They think Pelosi is the member of a government that is about to pass this Menendez-Graham bill that reverses Taiwan's status and makes us, once again, Taiwan's ally. And this is a very dangerous thing because it's not necessary. The Chinese have no plans to invade Taiwan. Now they may feel that they have to. And remember, the Chinese are not interested in destroying the industry that exists on Taiwan. They're also not interested in putting their industries at risk either. So there's this whole picture of China in the United States I think is just fundamentally false, really false. I'm not saying that, we should all grip hands and sing Kumbaya. What I'm simply saying is we need to do business on the basis of identified interests. And if you respect those interests, you can avoid conflict. And as I said, Xi had talked about 2049 as a target date for reunification. Now I suspect he's telling the general staff of the PLI to plan on something next year potentially. Because that's how offended and that's how concerned they are with the Pelosi nonsense and Biden's utterly ridiculous statement that, yes, we're committed to defending Taiwan. We haven't been committed to that since 1979. and we've had no problems.
Yeah, I was talking to someone yesterday about that, and they brought up the 2049 reunification point to me, and I was just like, I don't think they're gonna wait that long now. I mean, you have all these threats. I mean, the Lend-Lease part is I think one of the craziest parts of all. I mean, obviously we've been training Taiwanese separatists for some time, I mean, just the fact that you're gonna pass that, and then the gutting of the One China policy is
Well,
insane.
keep something else in mind, Jackson. There are two major parties on that island. One is the old KMT, that was Chiang Kai-shek's party.
Mm-hmm.
And that's about 48%. And right now, 52% is with the Democratic Progressive People's Party, which is the pro-Japanese / pro-Western party. The KMT has favored reunification with China for some time now. If they were to win a future election, we could wake up and discover that they have voted themselves into China. Because what Taiwan wants to become, and ultimately what mainland China would like to become, is some facsimile of Singapore. Singapore is the model. And what is Singapore? Anybody who spent any time there says, oh, well, I think it's a fascist state. You think? Yeah, but the Chinese are interested in what? They want to be safe. They want to be able to make money. They want to improve their living. They want to pursue their individual interests. And Singapore allows that. Lee Kuan delivered. So both sides, Taiwan and China, that really is what they would like to have. And in fact, it's not very different from the attitude in Japan. And again, as I try to tell people, if you want to know what's the probability of you being convicted in a court of a serious crime in China, it's 99%. If you want to know what the probability of being convicted in a court of law of a serious crime in Japan is, it's 99%. If you want to know what the probability of being convicted of a serious crime is in a court in Vietnam, it's 99%. Of course, in North Korea, it's 100%. We know that. But the point I try to make to people is that you step back and understand this is a different world from ours.
Mm-hmm.
Different culture, different way of thinking. It doesn't mean it's wrong. It also doesn't mean that we're necessarily right, but they're different. And I'm so tired of people in Washington condemning everyone left and right for not adequately tending to whatever we think is appropriate in their country. You know, we used to take the position, Republicans used to take the position, that what countries do, what governments do in their own countries is their affair. And if we didn't like something, we would discuss it, but we would do so privately. That's been thrown overboard since the Second World War as we've run around and proselytized and pushed our ideas. And I ask everyone to look back on the last 50, 60, 70 years and tell me, how well has that worked?
Yeah. Yeah. If the Chinese aren't allowing hormone blockers for their 4-year-old kids, then it's time to start World War III.
Oh, by the way, that's a good thing that you brought that up, because the KMT party in Taiwan was violently opposed to same-sex marriage. Every Asian nation is opposed to same-sex marriage. The PRC, People's Republic of China, is opposed to same-sex marriage. That was passed by the current government of Taiwan, largely to curry favor with us. And that is not popular, and I expect that will be reversed in the future. And again, whatever we want to do is fine, but it's time to respect the will and wishes of others in the societies they live in. It seems easy to me, but it seems to be difficult.